makeup on, fix your hair up good, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City.
Dawn in Atlantic City. At the age of 38, Herol Graham has come to the gambling capital of America's East Coast for the biggest gamble of all, trying to disprove the oldest adage in boxing: they never come back.
I know I've got something left to offer. There's something there keeping me going. I don't know what it is, but the inspiration's still there, the motivation's still there, and like, it's just something. It's like Alice in Wonderland in a sense, really. It's not complete.
Herol Graham is one of the most extraordinary boxers Britain has produced. Although he's been known as Bomber throughout his career, perhaps his other nickname, the Showman, is more appropriate. Blessed with a style all his own, a style that influenced a generation of fighters in Brendan Ingall's small gym in Sheffield.
I met him when we were both amateur boxers down at Brendan Ingall's some 20-odd years ago. I think it was about 1975, 1976. Herol won everything in the amateurs then, and you know, I want everybody at the time, and even now, you know, they've still got the Herol Graham style of boxing. I was one of them. A lot of people are saying that it's Brendan Ingall's style of fighting. Me personally, I think it's the Herol Graham style of fighting, because before Herol Graham, you know, fighters in Sheffield were boxing the normal way of fighting. And Herol Graham comes along, and everybody, myself included, starts his hands down, elusive style, and fighters are still doing it coming out of Sheffield.
It was a style that influenced one young man in particular, filmed as a 10-year-old, emulating his hero.
Herol was champion at the time when I was a kid, and I was winning national titles while Herol was defending his British, his European, and boxing for world. And I used to look at Herol and think, I'm going to be as good as that one day, or even better, and win world titles. And Herol was a great influence at the time.
Throughout the 1980s, Graham was to sweep almost all before him. He won his first 38 professional fights, capturing British, Commonwealth and European titles. He had a powerful punch when it was needed, but it was his swift hands and unorthodox technique that proved an irresistible combination.
This is it. A lot of people are saying, well, you've got to see crash, bang, wallop. The crash, bang, wallop, you know, has got to be substituted for science and skill, which Bomber Graham has got, which he's proved. And this is why he fills the City Hall every time he boxes, because he's so entertaining, he's such a good craftsman, he can hit, he can fight when he has to, but the sweet science, this is what it's all about with him.
For most of the decade, it seemed that even the American giants of the middleweight division were running scared of him. Emmanuel Stewart, now a member of the Lennox Lewis team, with whom Graham's been working in the build-up to his challenge for Charles Brewer's world super middleweight title, had an impressive stable of fighters when Bomber was at his peak.
I know myself, I never would fight Herol Graham with any of my fighters coming up, and I had quite a few middleweights, junior middleweights and welterweight champions. He was the one guy that I always was afraid of because of his boxing talent and his left-handed style. So I think probably many other managers felt the same as I did.
There was a time when he was rated up there with people like Marvin Hagler, Tommy Earnshaw, Gray Leonard, you know, and then those fighters didn't even want to know, because I'm not saying that Herol would have beat those kind of fighters, but, you know, he'd have made them look bad. Nobody wants to be made to look bad. You know, you're a world champion, you want to look good because you're a world champion.
But when the chances finally came, Bomber failed to take them. 2 world title defeats, the second a devastating knockout in 1990, left his career in ruins.
Who you talk about? Do you talk about Julian Jackson? Yeah, Torre Quebrada Hotel. I remember vividly in respect that the referee was going to stop it in that round, and all of a sudden it whipped up a shot from the back of his ankle, and it caught me. I stuck my chin out at the wrong time. It was all over. Another one bites the dust.
An unsettled domestic life and a series of expensive legal wrangles with his management had left him with little to show for his years at the top. With the spark apparently gone, he retired in 1992, and when 2 years later he attempted a comeback, his return was blocked on medical grounds by the British Boxing Board of Control, which claimed he'd failed neurological tests.
Last thing I took was isometric testing, which is to test your brain pattern, I think. your achievements of thinking, your thinking powers or subconsciousness. And I may have failed on that, if anything, because not that I'm not the brightest of people, but I can do what I have to do and get away with it.
There followed 2 more years in the wilderness before the board, faced with an independent second medical opinion, eventually relented.
The Boxing Board of Control couldn't give a reason why they wouldn't allow him to box. You know, he passed all the tests, all the medicals, but he still wouldn't grant him a licence. But, you know, he finally got it. And here we are, like I said, in Atlantic City, boxing for a world title.
But his first fight back, a points win in November 1996, only reinforced the doubts. Even his trainer advised him to pack in for good.
After seeing the fight at Concord Sports Centre against Terry Ford, which, you know, the guy, nobody had ever heard of the guy. He was a blown-up welterweight, and Herol didn't struggle, but he couldn't put him away, and he didn't look the Herol Graham of old. But, you know, here we are 18 months later, and he's boxing for a world title. I'm just glad he proved me wrong.
However, it wasn't until Graham, now under the wing of Lennox Lewis's manager Frank Maloney, took on and stopped the highly rated Olympic medalist Chris Johnson that he began to get noticed again.
When he went in with Chris Johnson, who was a world-ranked fighter, undefeated, an Olympian bronze medal, Herol Graham game stepped way above anyone's expectation, and he stopped Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson never been on the floor before this fight, never mind being stopped, you know, and Herol Graham totally destroyed this guy, who we had plans of fighting for the world title. And then he goes in with Pazienza, a 3-time world champion, and a great name, and totally just took him apart with a boxing lesson.
Pazienza was beaten on points, a performance that brought the unthinkable within reach.
18 months ago, he had no licence, and I was one of the people that were saying, you know, jack it in, Herol. And here we are, boxing for a world title. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable it may be, but is it wise? Is it one gamble too many against Charlie the Hatchet Brewer, a taller, heavier and younger opponent? What would it take to make Graham quit the sport?
When I get hurt, and hurt, properly hurt, I'm finished. I keep saying to Glenn, and win the championship, win a world championship, defend it 3 times, at least 3 times, and I can get out of the game. Because it is a hard sport, a very hard, one of the hardest sports.
And if the fight's a gamble Graham's prepared to take, at least Atlantic City's the place for it. Atlantic City calls itself America's favourite playground, but though it's built a reputation for staging world title fights, few here seem interested in boxing. Fewer still have heard of Herol Graham.
Harold Palmer Graham. No,
Herol Graham? Is he in the Parliament in England?
No.
Harold Palmer Graham. I'm going to guess it has something to do with drugs. No, I don't know. I do not know. Harold Bumder Graham, right?
From England. Atlantic City, Aston.
Maybe he's got
Does he have a casino?
He's a what?
He's a boxer.
He's a boxer, okay. You ever hear of Mike Tyson?
I'm a fight fan, but unless he's like got a title or a belt or something like that, I never heard of him.
He might have a belt after Saturday night.
After Sunday night. God bless him, 39 years old, he's still around. If he gets the belt, God bless him. Then again, he may get his head taken off too, right?
Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Herol Graham.
Those Americans who have heard of him don't rate his chances.
Hi folks. Yes, I'm not an old man at all. Everybody thinks I am, but I pretend. I pretend it well.
And Herol, you know, I knew how good Herol was, but gee, I mean, you know, when you get old and fight, you better be a heavyweight, because then speed and all that doesn't count so much. But Herol's not in the right division for getting older.
The guy he's fighting against really brings the hammer, so he better be ready to fight. If he brings his heart, you know, he'll have a shot. But I think the chances are slim.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a chance. I'm just saying I think Brewer's going to win in 5 or 6 rather brutal rounds.
Harold will probably be waking up a little later after the fight's over, and they'll tell him he got knocked out.
As he prepares for his third attempt at a world title against the dangerous American Charles Brewer, Herol Graham looks as fit and lean as ever. But it's his age, 38, that concerns the travelling British press corps.
If this fight had been 10 years earlier, I think there'd be no question he'd been world champion.
You know, if anyone deserves to win a world title, it's Herol Graham. He's been trying for 20 years, as we know, but he's 38, which means he's got 38-year-old legs.
Herol says something interesting. He says, you know, I may be 38, but I've got the body of a 28-year-old. I just hope he hasn't got the legs of a 38-year-old and he doesn't run out of steam. And if that happens, I hope he doesn't get hurt.
You talk about age. Age is just a number.
15 seconds, age, come on.
It's how you feel and how you've been keeping yourself inside. That age, 38, it doesn't mean anything to me. And it's just a question that I've got to get a world championship, which has eluded me so far.
Time, that's it, age.
Still, though, there are people who don't want you to fight at the age that you're at now. And they fear for you. Do you understand that?
Well, of course I understand everything, yeah. But it's in life, life is fearful without boxing. And it's a case of that, doing what you do best with your own life. No one can come up to me. I can't go up to you and say, look, don't do this, right? Commentating and reporting, it's not your game. Do something else. Well, you turn around to me and say, Herol, you go and do your game and I'll stick at this. Well, it's the same applies. I like the boxing. I'm good at the boxing. People say, oh, you get hurt. You can get hurt walking across the road. A bus comes along, smash.
Herol's wife Nina has flown in to watch the fight. Now pregnant with their first child, she's provided much-needed stability in his private life and refuses to question his decision to fight on. What do you feel when Herol climbs in the ring? What are you feeling now?
At the moment, I feel okay, but the day of the fight, I will be really nervous. I won't be worried because I think boxing, that's his job. But to me, that is his job. So it's like any other job, like me going out to work. That's what he does, and that's what he's best at. So I will be worried on the night, but I'm okay at the moment.
Do you really wish, though, that he wasn't a boxer?
No, I don't. No, because that is his life. That's all he's known to do. I couldn't think of him doing anything else. You know, I don't wish for him not to be a boxer. No, I don't want him to get hurt, obviously, but I wouldn't wish him to be anything different.
Are you confident?
Yeah, I am confident. I mean, I've seen him today in the gym, and he looks great. Looks strong. He looks like he's hitting hard, and yeah, I'm confident, yeah.
Were you a fight fan before you met him?
No, not at all. I didn't know anything about boxing. I didn't even know who he was before I met him. When I saw him, the night that we met, I didn't even know his name or anything. So, I'm not a fan of, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of boxing now, it's just that I'm in that kind of lifestyle now, and I still don't know a lot about boxing.
Dan, how you feeling?
Fine.
Good. Any medical problems at all, huh?
Yes, I'm fit.
You're fit. Okay. That's considered a good problem. That's it.
A routine medical examination at the weigh-in the day before the fight, though it doesn't involve investigating neurological problems Herol might have had in the past.
These are things that should be weeded out by the commissions prior to them reaching the stage of a pre-fight exam. The ring physician doesn't really get too much involved with the past history. It's already been taken care of.
So as far as you're concerned, the fact that he's here, the fact that he's ready to fight now, that means that he's been passed okay neurologically and everything else?
There's no question about it. The New Jersey Commission would not let him get in the ring if he hadn't had all the proper credentials and hadn't passed all the exams he needed to pass.
Okay, Herol Graham, 167 pounds.
Herol Graham, 167 pounds.
Let's scale the weight.
Despite Graham's attempts to lighten the mood, the champion's unimpressed. Graham's chances of winning, he says, are negligible.
the only way that that's going to happen is if he knocked me clear out that ring. You know, that that is the only way. Decision, forget it. It has to be about knockout. And, you know, I'm not ashamed to say that. Most fighters would say, they wouldn't even say a knockout happened to them, but with boxing, you have to be realistic, okay? Anything can happen to anybody at any given time. So the only way it would happen is a straight knockout. That's the only way it would happen.
Support for Bomber's mission comes from the other two British fighters on the Atlantic City bill. Lennox Lewis is here to defend his WBC World Heavyweight crown against Shannon Briggs.
He's been in the game for such a long time. His game has to be, his mental preparation has to be good. And I believe that he believes that he can do it, which is the main thing. You got to go in there and feeling confident, especially within yourself.
Henry Wharton, another Yorkshire fighter who's known the agony of 3 super middleweight world title defeats himself, is also here.
I'm on before, unfortunately, so hopefully I can get mine done over and quickly. Well, if it points, that's okay by me. But the thing I'm looking forward to most is that I can go backstage, get changed, and I can will Herol on, like, because I'm really, really keen for him to win, because nobody deserves it more than him.
And nobody gives him a chance over here, do they?
Nobody gives him a chance, but I do. I've got a sneaky feeling, you know, this Charles Brewer maybe come out, you know, thinking Herol's, you know, past it, you know, seen his best days, but I don't know. I've got a sneaky feeling for Herol. I'm plugging for Herol. I really think he can pull it off.
And if he does, he'll make boxing history by becoming the oldest man ever to win a world title for the first time.
There's just something about the Herol Graham fairy story. I'm just glad that I'm part of it.
It would be a fairy story if he won, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be a dream come true. I mean, it would make Herol the most popular boxer in Britain. Frank Bruno mania would be nothing compared to what Herol Graham mania will be when he arrives back in London with that world title.
After saying 18 months ago, telling the guy to pack in, it'd make me look an even bigger fool if he wins. But I don't mind. I'll put my hands up and say, you know, if you can't be proved wrong by your friend, a good friend like that, you can't be proved wrong by anybody. So, like I said, I hope he proves me wrong again, and I can live with that.
I feel complete, all around, physical, mental, spiritually, inside. I feel complete, as if to say, I think this is your third time round, and it's going to be a third time lucky.
But I can tell you one thing, when you tune in for those fights, you're going to have some fun. Bye.
As Herol prepares in the dressing room, fans from Yorkshire arrive.
Oh, maybe the younger guy might just be too quick for him, but let's just hope, you know, he does the job.
I know Herol well, and I know he's up for it, yeah. Very good.
He's 38, but he claims he's 28, so I agree with him.
Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the challenger, Herol the Bomber Graham.
After 2 opening rounds, which neither man dominated, Graham took charge in the third. The champion was cuffed to the canvas.
Left hand there, sneak left hand. Brewer goes down.
And though he complained it wasn't a legitimate punch, there was no argument about a second knockdown. As Brewer tried to wrest back the initiative, his head was snapped back by a ramrod straight left.
Just lost his balance more than anything. And another left hand. And Brewer stepped again. And this time he's more seriously hurt. Unwisely.
Graham couldn't find the one punch to finish it, but it appeared it wouldn't matter as he rolled back the years to command the fight and remind Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns, who were at ringside, just why they were reluctant to face him in the 80s. But then, as before, it all went wrong.
Decent looking right hand though, and another one for Brewer, and another one. Oh, he's got Graham going here. Is this a breakthrough? He stopped it. Oh my goodness me. Terrible moments for Herol Graham, who seemed to be on his way, and it just took one flurry of punches.
looked good all the way through. Everything, he was doing well.
Proud of him.
Oh yeah, I'm proud of him, even now, yeah. He's come this far, yeah. I think he should go on.
So close yet so far, again, you know, it's unbelievable. I thought going into the last round that we got it in the bag, and I'm saying, Charles, just carry on doing what you're doing, and then you saw him get caught. It's all right after the event saying, oh, he should have gone down, he should have done this. No, full credit to the kid, he won. Herol, that's boxing. But he didn't put up a bad performance for a 38-year-old man who, when we arrived here, everybody was writing him off. All the papers in England, one or two certain people in British press were saying they're going to get knocked out and he can't do it. Hey, I think personally he put up a terrific performance, and I don't think there's anybody here can argue with that.
The ultimate irony, it was the champion who'd sprained his ankle who left the convention centre in an ambulance, but he left with the belt. For Graham, there was just sympathy and praise.
I think he's made a very, very good go at the championship. One time I had to look down at my card to remind myself who was the champion.
Well, before the fight, I thought it was wrong that they should have pushed Herol into this world title fight. And I was wrong about that because he showed in the fight he deserved to be in there. I mean, I was bitterly disappointed for him. Yeah, so I've always had a soft spot for Herol. I've known him throughout his career, which is 20 years. But he just failed at the last hurdle yet again.
It'd be difficult for him to get back and get another world title fight. He loves to fight games, we know, and whether he'll carry on, I don't know, but he's come out of this with great credit. It's just a pity that the third time he's come so near and he's yet still so far away and may never now probably get a world title.
I think it's disappointing for the whole of Britain, for the whole of the boxing community, because tonight the whole of Britain was willing Herol Graham to it, and he nearly got there. He was 9 minutes away from being crowned IBF world champion, but you know, at the end of the day, Charles Brewer is still champion, and you can't take that away from him.
As the Lennox Lewis entourage celebrated his win at a post-fight party, Graham refused to make an instant decision about his future.
No instant decision, because instant decisions are all in haste, and I don't want nothing in haste. I don't want to end up coming back to it again. If I'm going to jack it in, I'm going to jack it in here and now. So I'd rather say nothing, go and think about it with my wife and Glenn, and say what we should do.
Well, we spoke to Nina, she's proud of you.
Oh, right. Thanks, Nina.
He was so bloody brave. It was unbelievable. My heart goes out to the kid. He was absolutely fantastic.
He was so close to winning the fight against the IBF world champion, so he's not far away from winning a world title, so you can't say that it's finished.
Are you thinking what might have been?
Well, that's in the past, isn't it now? We have to look for the future. It's just one of those things, you know, it could have been, it wasn't though, and it's gone. But that's life. People expect to have everything they want, and you can't have everything you want. It's one of the things I wanted, and I haven't got it.